Comparative writing. In academic writing, as in life, we frequently need to compare and contrast things. Sometimes this will be the subject and focus of the whole essay, other times it may just be a means of providing evidence and material for your argument. Either way, what you are doing is zooming in on the key similarities, compare, and differences, contrast. You may, for example, be asked to compare two or more models, theories, or approaches. On a more statistical or quantitative level, you may be asked to compare two sets of data or graphical information. Examples of comparative academic questions. Analyze and evaluate the relative merits of the Marxist, feminist and psychoanalytical interpretations of Shakespeare's Macbeth. Compare and contrast Iceland and Japan with reference to population size, density, land area and life expectancy. Describe and explain the key similarities and differences between the economies of Germany and Greece in terms of GDP, average income, employment levels and productivity. Importance of comparative writing. Analyzing two things in this way is always revealing, often in unexpected ways, and frequently leads to a deeper understanding of the topic. Comparing and contrasting is a valuable exercise because it enables you to see familiar things in new ways, to make connections and discover affinities between things. In the examples given, you will be expected to describe the essential similarities and differences in each case, but also to draw conclusions. In other words, what has the comparison revealed, overall, and what have you learned from the exercise of comparing? What is being assessed here is not only your ability to summarize and process often large amounts of information, but also your ability to make inferences, identify patterns, spot significant details and trends to critically evaluate, in short. How to write comparatively. The first stage is to brainstorm so as to generate some initial ideas that you can use in your comparison. The structure and sequence of points can come later. At the moment, it is important to think about the title and the comparison in question and start to make notes. Take the example of a simple analogy: the human body is like an engine. To begin with, it would be a good idea to make a list of all the points of similarity between the two. For example, both require fuel. Both are complex systems. Both require maintenance. Both can convert power into motion. Both need periods of rest in activity. Both can get overheated or break down. Both have a number of different components, with different functions. As you are doing this, you will soon begin to think of ways in which they differ from each other. Make another list for these. For example, one is a living organism, the other is a machine. One is made of metal, the other is made up of cells. Structure of comparative writing. The structure of an academic compare-contrast essay will be somewhat more complex than simple similarities and differences plan. Therefore, you will need to make a plan, and gather evidence from your reading and make notes under these headings. As with any essay, you will need to frame the body of the essay with an introduction and a conclusion. An essay is like a journey, you need to signpost where you are heading, both at the beginning and throughout, and to make the reader feel a sense of having conclusively arrived at the end. Bear this in mind when you are planning. Phrases for comparative writing. The readability and effectiveness of your essay will depend not only upon its use of this kind of structured approach, but also on the fluent and varied use of language, to describe similarities and differences certainly, but also degrees of similarity and difference. Try to use a range of different words and expressions for this. The following are some examples. Words and phrases for similarity. A is like, alike, similar to, resembles, is closely related to, shares characteristics with, has much in common with B. In the same way, in a similar way, similarly. Words and phrases for difference. A is unlike, different from, differs from, dissimilar to, contrary to, in contrast to. In a rather different way, conversely. Words and phrases for degrees of difference, similarity, adverbs. Totally, completely, entirely. Different from, the same as, etc. Virtually, practically, more or less. Almost, nearly, not quite, only just. Slightly, scarcely, hardly, somewhat, rather, quite. Approximately, roughly, exactly. Further support. At Talent and Skills Hub, you can be supported by our instructors, academic skills advisors and mentors for effective comparative writing. You can book appointment for one-to-one or group tutoring through our website, ts-hub.com.